Hi, greetings, true believers. Well, as you can see, I'm in a different location now because I just moved into my very first apartment a couple days ago. So, yeah, so things are going to be looking a little bit different from now on. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'd apologize. I did not upload any videos yesterday. I was just trying to figure out everything and I was unpacking a little bit. So, yeah. Anyway, so now let's take a look at So now let's continue on Marvel May with Captain Marvel. In 1995, on the Korean pirate's planet Apollo, Starforce member Veer suffers from amnesia and recurring nightmares involving an older woman. Yon Rog, her mentor commander, trains Veer to control her abilities, while the Supreme Intelligence, the artificial intelligence that rules the Kree, urges her to keep her emotions in check. During a mission to rescue an undercover operative infiltrating a group of Skrulls, alien shapeshifters with whom the Kree are at war, Veers is captured by Skrull Commander Talos. A probe of Veers' memories leads them to Earth. Veers escapes and crash lands in Los Angeles. Her presence attracts S.H.I.E.L.D. agents Nick Fury and Phil Coulson, whose investigations are interrupted by a Skrull attack. Veers recovers a crystal containing her extracted memories in the ensuing chase, while Fury kills a Skrull impersonating Coulson. Talos, described as Fury's boss as Keller, orders Fury to work with Veers and keep tabs on her. Using her extracted memories, Veers and Fury go to the Project Pegasus installation at a U.S. Air Force base. They discover that Veers was a pilot presumed to have died in 1989 while testing an experimental light-speed engine designed by Dr. Wendy Lawson, whom Veers recognizes as the woman from her nightmares. Fury informs S.H.I.E.L.D. of their location and a team arrives. Hold on. Sorry, I had something on my screen there. Anyway, Fury realizes that Keller is Talos, and Veers arrives and helps Veers escape in a jet, Lawson's stowaway cat Goose. They fly to Louisiana to meet former pilot Maria Rambeau. Last person see Veers and Lawson alive. Rambeau and daughter Monica reveal that Veers is Carol Danvers, who was once like family to them. Talos, arriving unarmed, explains that the Skrulls are refugees searching for a new home and that Lawson was Mar-Vell, a renegade Kree scientist helping them. Talos plays a recovered black box recording from Lawson's jet, prompting Danvers to remember the crash. Yara killed Mar-Vell to prevent her from destroying the engine before the Kree could recover it. Destroying the engine herself, Danvers observed the engine from the ensuing explosion, gaining powers but losing her memory. Danvers tells Fury and Rambeau locate Lawson's cloaked laboratory orbiting Earth, where Lawson hid several Skrulls, including Talos' family, and the Tesseract, the power source of Lawson's engine. There, Danvers is captured by Starforce and interfaces with the Supreme Intelligence. Danvers removes the Kree implant that suppressed her powers during their encounter, allowing her to reach her full potential. In the subsequent battle, Fury retrieves Goose, who is revealed to be an alien Flurkin. Goose swallows the Tesseract and scratches Fury, blinding his left eye. Danvers destroys a Kree bomber, forcing Kree officer Ronan the Accuser and his squadron to retreat. Danvers overpowers Yon Rog and sends him to Hala with a warning for the Supreme Intelligence. She then departs to help the Skrulls find a new homeworld, leaving Fury a modified pager to contact her in an emergency. Fury drops initiative to locate heroes like Danvers, naming after Air Force call sign Avenger. In mid-credits scene, set in 2018, the activated pager is being monitored by the Avengers when Danvers appears looking for Fury. In a post-credits scene, Goose climbs onto Fury's desk and vomits the Tesseract. Not sure if that's ever going to lead to anything, but I don't know. Alright, so let's take a look at the production of this movie, beginning with the development. By May 2013, Marvel Studios' writing room had produced a script for a film featuring Miss Marvel, an alias used by the character Carol Danvers before she took the mantle Captain Marvel. Later that year, executive producer Luis Desposito said the studio was interested in a female-driven superhero film and had plenty of strong female characters for us to choose, suggesting Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Pepper Potts, or Peggy Carter as possible candidates. Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios, said if Marvel was to make a female-led film, he would prefer it to be a new character to the Marvel Cinematic Universe like Captain Marvel, for whom an origin story could be told. In August 2014, Feige stated that development had begun on a Captain Marvel film, and said that members of the public asked about the project often more than Iron Man 4 or Avengers Infinity War. In October 2014, Feige announced that Captain Marvel would be the studio's first female-led film and would focus on Carol Danvers. It was given a release date of July 6, 2018 as part of their Phase 3 slate of films. Feige said the film had been in development almost as long as Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange, and one of its biggest challenges would be balancing the title character's Earthbound adventures with their cosmic powers. He said a writer and director for the film would be announced soon, and female filmmakers were being considered for the project, but he could not promise that filmmakers from a certain demographic would be hired for the film. In February 2015, Marvel pushed the release date back to November 2, 2018 to accommodate for Spider-Man Homecoming. In early April, Feige revealed that Captain Marvel had been included in an early draft of the Avengers Age of Ultron screenplay, but Marvel chose to remove this appearance because they didn't want to introduce the character before they were able to explore her backstory and personality first. He also said that Marvel would announce writers for the film in a few weeks, and by mid-April, Guardians of the Galaxy co-writer Nicole Perlman and Inside Out co-writer Meg LaFave were announced to be writing the screenplay. The duo were put together as a writing team after pressing Feige with separate takes on the character and began work on the film within a month. LaFave found the character, being a female superhero, to be both wonderful and a challenge, believing that the character's power could lead to the Superman curse of being perceived to be invulnerable. Additionally, LaFave and Perlman found that writing a story about a human and not getting too overwhelmed by the worry of representing all women worked best when approaching the story. An article about young girls who would quit learning to code after they encountered trouble made LaFave and Perlman consider questions about females being taught that they cannot make mistakes or embrace their own power. This helped the duo realize that part of embracing your power is failure and seeing it more as feedback instead of your character. By May, Marvel had discussions with Ava DuVernay about directing Captain Marvel Black Panther, which Feige confirmed a month later, saying that he met with DuVernay amongst a number of other directors and expect a decision to be made by mid to late 2015. That September, Feige said that the casting process would not begin until 2016, as the studio did not want to try to cast Carol Danvers until they decided on the direction for the character in the screenplay, as well as the structure of the film and the character's role in the rest of Marvel's Phase 3 films. Producer Jeremy Latcham elaborated that getting the character right first is going to lead the charge. In October 2015, Marvel changed the release date again, moving to March 8, 2019, to make room for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Feige stated that in April 2016 that a director would be announced within a few months and that the first cast members would be announced in mid-2016. He also mentioned that the film would be about Carol Danvers becoming Captain Marvel. The next month, indie filmmaker Emily Carmichael's name surfaced as a possible contender to direct the film, and by June, Brie Larson emerged as the frontrunner to play Captain Marvel. Larson's casting was confirmed at the 2016 San Diego Comic-Con. She was set to earn $5 million for the film. Larson was initially hesitant to accept the role, but could deny the fact that the movie is everything I care about, everything that's progressive and important and meaningful, and a symbol I wished I would have had growing up. She was able to bring to the part some of those deep emotional things she had used in previous, more dramatic roles. Larson felt this would differentiate Captain Marvel from other superhero films. Also at Comic-Con, Feige said the search for a director had narrowed to 10 candidates, and he hoped to announce the final choice in the coming months. Perlman revealed in August that the character's origin story had been changed for the film because of similarities to the DC Comics character Green Lantern, with Feige explained that the new story is centered on Danvers finding her limitations and vulnerabilities. He added that Danvers is the most powerful character in the MCU and will become very important in the franchise. Producer Nate Morris said the film avoids the traditional structure of many MCU origin stories, which he described as a character having a problem before gaining powers at the end of the first act, and in the second act they learn about their powers. The third act they probably fight a villain who has a function of the same powers. Instead, Danvers starts the film having already gained her powers. In October 2016, Feige admitted that the announcement for a director was taking longer than he previously expected, and explained that the studio was now waiting for more of the film's story to be defined in the script, so they could then talk to potential directors about it. Once again, talking about hiring a female filmmaker to direct the film, Feige said that he did not think it would be a requirement to make a great version of the film, but it was something that Marvel felt was important to consider. even if that female filmmaker did not know a lot about the comics, as they just have to fall in love with it once they are presented with it. It's amazing to see all the filmmakers read through the source material and know, oh, a female's writing it now. Speaking in particular to Kelly Sue DeConnick's run in the comics, Feige expected the director to be announced by the end of 2016. However, Perlman and Lefebvre turned in his script treatment around December, pushing additional meetings with director candidates into early 2017. In February 2017, Perlman stated that despite her and Lefebvre having been hired almost a year previously, the duo had only recently gotten their marching orders for the script, saying one of the reasons for the delay was figuring out where the film would fit within the MCU. Perlman also discussed the character's femininity, feeling that it was important to make sure she's not somebody who was her hero in spite of her femininity. Being a woman is part of her strength. The writers are also wary of tropes that could be diminishing to a female character but not for male characters, such as things they would not have been concerned about writing for Iron Man but would not play the same way for Captain Marvel. And now on to pre-production. Marvel hired Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck to direct Captain Marvel in April 2017. The duo impressed the studio over numerous meetings with their vision for the character and because of their experience working both television and film. Feige said that he and Marvel were particularly impressed with Boden and Fleck's ability to create a diverse range of character-driven stories in all their works. Feige felt the film had to focus on the complexity and relatability of Carol Danvers' character without being bogged down by the villains and the special effects, and thought that Boden and Fleck could provide this character focus. Filming was scheduled to begin in January 2018 in Pinewood Atlantis Studios in Fayette County, Georgia. Feige said he did not expect it to begin until February. By July 2017, Samuel L. Jackson was set to appear in the film, reprising his role as Nick Fury. Larson, who worked with Jackson on Kong Skull Island, pushed for Fury's presence in the film. At the 2017 San Diego Comic-Con, Feige revealed that the film would take place in the 1990s and that the Skrulls would be the film's villains, allowing elements from the Kree Skull War comic book storyline to be used. By setting the film in the 1990s, Feige knew that Danvers would be the singular hero while still giving her a definitive placing in the MCU timeline. Executive producer Jonathan Schwartz said setting the film in the 1990s was an idea from early in the development process and gave the character a special place and significance within the MCU. It also allowed the film to make connections to plot details from past MCU films that are set later in the timeline. Regarding the elements from the Kree Skull War used for the film, Schwartz said some paranoia elements would be featured but would not be related to the anti-superhero actors in the comics. He added that the Kree Skull War conflict would definitely be a backdrop and mythological underpinning for the film. In response to the Comic-Con announcements, Graham McMillan of The Hollywood Reporter compared the film to Captain America the First Avenger and the DC Extended Universe film Wonder Woman, as they were also said decades before the present day. By setting the film in the 1990s, McMillan felt it would create the question, what happened to Captain Marvel to take her off the playing field ahead of the Marvel movies that we've seen to date? Also in July, the California Film Commission awarded a $20.7 million tax credit to the production, going towards the first $100 million spent on qualified in-state expenditures, making California the main filming location for Captain Marvel. Despacito was excited about this since Marvel Studios' headquarters and post-production facilities are also in the state, allowing them to streamline the production process for this film and others. Awarding of the tax credit was dependent on filming beginning within 180 days. Marvel planned to spend $118.6 million filming in the state, for a net of $97.8 million after the tax credit was applied. Schwartz said one of the reasons Los Angeles was chosen for filming was because not a lot of big movies shoot in LA anymore, so it really feels like fresh territory for a movie like this. Gina Represent-Ward was hired by mid-August to take over scripting duties for Captain Marvel after Lefebvre left the project to co-direct Gigantic for Disney Animation. Perlman also left the project, but stated that the story she and Lefebvre had worked on earlier drafts would be retained in the final screenplay. Represent-Ward described the film as an action comedy, and likened her script to an initial one she wrote for Tomb Raider before the film took a more dramatic tone. She added that it was important to the entire creative team to keep the comedic elements of the film and the sassiness of Danvers' character. Represent-Ward also credited Boden for helping to shape Danvers' voice in the film and desire further desire to carve our own path and make sure we weren't retreading the same territory after the release of Wonder Woman and showing all facets of what women are capable of. Feige added that Captain Marvel would have action scenes that pay homage to 1990s action films, including Terminator 2 Judgment Day, since the 1990s action genre was one Marvel Studios had yet to explore. He also stated that much of the film would take place in outer space. RoboCop, The French Connection, and The Conversation also served as influences on Captain Marvel for Bowden and Fleck. Speaking specifically to RoboCop, the directors were drawn to this idea of a character who's finding himself and finding his past from that film and how it would connect to the story they were telling in Captain Marvel. To conjugate quantum physicist Spiridon Michalikis of the Institute for Quantum Information and Matter at the California Institute of Technology consulted on the film. By October, filming was slated to begin in March 2018. Feige said the film plays a significant role setting up Avengers Endgame, which is set for release after Captain Marvel. Ben Mendelsohn entered negotiations to play the film's main villain, having previously worked with Bowden and Fleck on their film Mississippi Grind. They had him in mind for the Captain Marvel villain when they first began working on the story, and Mendelsohn agreed to play the role shortly after discussing the film with the directors. By November, Jude Law was in negotiations to join the film, which at the time was reported to be the role of Walter Lawson/Marvel. Keanu Reeves had also been approached for the part but declined. By January 2018, DeWanda Wise was cast as Maria Rambeau, and Mendelsohn and Law were confirmed to have been cast. And now on to the filming. Location shooting occurred at the end of January 2018. Set photos taken at the time showed Larson in a green and black uniform instead of the character's familiar red and blue suit. Feige responded by saying that Marvel accepts the risk of set photos being leaked as a consequence of location shooting, and felt that most people are savvy enough to know that they're looking at a behind-the-scenes photo, completely out of context. He added that a large number of scenes of the film will be shot on location. A month later, Gemma Chan joined the cast as Minerva. In March, Wise withdrew from the film because of a scheduling conflict with her television series She's Gotta Have It. Lashana Lynch was entered in negotiations to replace Wise the next day. It was confirmed for the role by the end of the month. At that time, Marvel revealed that Jumon Hansu, Lee Pace, and Clark Gregg were set to reprise their respective roles of Korath, Ronan the Accuser, and Phil Coulson from earlier MCU films, as those characters were all killed in their previous appearances. Richard Newby of The Hollywood Reporter described the film as a unique opportunity to strengthen the presence of the characters who may not have lived up to their potential. Marvel also announced that Alginas Perez Soto, Rune Temte, and McKenna Grace have been cast, and revealed that Bowden, Fleck, and the writing team of Liz Flahav and Carly Mensch had all contributed to the film's screenplay in addition to Lefebvre, Perlman, and Robinson Dworet. Beck Smith, who was previously a member of Marvel's screenwriter program, performed uncredited rewrites during production. Principal photography began on March 19th in Los Angeles at Sony Studios under the working title Open World. Sources say that Open World was chosen because it likened the film to an open world video game that could go in many directions, which is how the production felt about Captain Marvel's story at the time. A 1986 carnival scene was filmed later at the Jim Hall Racing Club in Oxnard, California. Filming of Captain Marvel in Los Angeles, along with other big-budget films that took advantage of California's improved tax credit program, helped raise on-location feature film production in the area by 11.7% in the first quarter of 2018, compared with the same period in 2017, the first such double-figure increase since the fourth quarter of 2015. Filming at Chevrolet Lake outside Fresno, California was set to take place in April, but was pushed back to mid-May. In late April, Feige stated that almost half of filming was completed. The following month, Annette Bening joined the cast in an undisclosed role. Additional location shooting in and around the Los Angeles area included Simi Valley, Edwards Air Force Base, and Lucerne Valley. In late June, production moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and New Orleans for 2 weeks. A realistic cat puppet was used on set since Larson is allergic to cats. Scenes featuring the interior of the Quadjet were filmed on the set used to depict the interior of Quinjets on the MCU television series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Filming concluded on July 6. Cinematographer Ben Davis shot primarily on large format Arri Alexa 65 cameras, liking how the camera rendered the film's costumes. Davis, who previously served as director of photography for Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Doctor Strange, Noted that there was a pointed departure in the visuals of Captain Marvel coming from its 1990s setting. To achieve the 1990s aesthetic, Davis first attempted to utilize post-production techniques to convey a period look, but found that it just softened the image. They tried using vintage Cooke, Panchro, and Canon K35 lenses, but they were not compatible with the large format of the Alexa camera system. Davis ultimately enlisted Dan Saki of Panavision to make new lenses for the period scenes that could work with the cameras. Davis initially intended not to use these lenses for scenes set in space, to differentiate them, but found himself using the lenses for some close-up set in space because he liked the way they looked. And now on to the post-production process. Additional photography was confirmed to have begun via set photos in late November 2018. With the release of the theatrical poster in early December, Marvel revealed that the writing team of Joe Shrapnel and Anna Waterhouse had worked on the film's story, while Jack Schaefer had contributed to the screenplay. Schaefer had been previously hired by Marvel to write Black Widow. Bennings and Law's roles were officially confirmed in February 2019 as Supreme Intelligence and Yana Rogg, respectively. The film was edited by Ellie Grimm and Debbie Berman, marking Berman's third time co-editing an MCU film after Spider-Man: Homecoming and Black Panther. Captain Marvel was edited using Avid Media Composer software, the Avid DNX HD codec on Apple computers. Berman first became involved with the film when she was working on Homecoming, and Bowden and Fleck were hired, as was hired herself for the Captain Marvel the first week since she was working on Black Panther. In addition to Graham and Berman, the editing team was made up of first assistants Jessica Bacalesi and Kimberly Boritz, second assistants Basuki Juono and Christos Sinas, and assistant editor Joe Galdo, among others. Burma spoke fondly of this large team, feeling that they gave her the opportunity to focus on the film's story rather than the technical aspects of editing. Visual effects for the film were created by Animal Logic, Katina Creative, Digital Domain, Framestore, ILM, Lola VFX, Luma Pictures, Rise, Rising Sun Pictures, Scanline VFX, Trickster, and Elastic, with Lola VFX working on the de-aging of Jackson and Gregg. Lola looked at several Jackson's films, including Pulp Fiction, Die with a Vengeance, Jurassic Park, Loaded Weapon 1, and 187, as a reference for his de-aging. However, some of these films were disqualified due to circumstances surrounding the character Jackson was playing. Pulp Fiction because of the character's wicked facial hair, and Jurassic Park because his character was made to appear older in that film. Lola VFX supervisor Trenclaw said the final look was based partly on Die Hard and Loaded Weapon 1, but mostly on 187, which he described as the hero movie. Jackson was the age of approximately 25 years from the age of 70 at the time of filming to 45 for the 1995 setting. To do this, both Jackson and Gregg had tracking dots applied to their faces during filming, for which the VFX team could anchor the handcrafted facial features that were composed primarily in Autodesk Flame. Lola's team included 40 primary compositors with another 15 to 20 junior compositors and created approximately 500 different VFX shots, of which 385 made it in the final cut of film. It was the first time Lola de-aged an actor without using a body double. It was to take too long to refilm all of Fury's scenes with a double. Trickster did initial development on the look of Danvers' binary powers and contributed to the majority of visual effects for Goose the Cat, including movements that were impossible for real-life cats to act. ILM handed Goose's alien features, as well as much of the final battle for which he used Trickster's work on the binary powers, as well as inspiration from comic books and video games. ILM also did work on the Supreme Intelligence virtual environment alongside Animal Logic, who took inspiration from the interior of the Louvre Abu Dhabi and the work they did with fractals for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. These scenes were filmed in white room without green or blue screen, so Animal Logic had to rotoscope the actors out of the footage and place them in the digital environment. To maintain the quality of the actors' hair during this process, Animal Logic created digital hair for Larson and Benning. Luma Pictures was primarily responsible for the train chase sequence, nicknamed the French Connection scene after the 1971 film of the same name. They had to make the footage look as if it were continuing along a single train line, even though the sequence was filmed in multiple locations around Los Angeles. Digital Domain worked on the skull transformation sequences. Rice created the exterior environment of Hala, and Framestar handled the battle sequence on Torfa. Rising Sun handled all of the Kree forum holograms, the interior of the Project Pegasus hangar, and the exterior of the quad jet. Skyline worked on effects for aerial chases and the accident scene where Danvers gains her powers. Elastic created the end titles, and the Third Pearl Inc. provided pre-visualization and post-visualization work. The film's mid-credits scenes shows Captain Marvel meeting the Avengers and was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. Bowden described it as a lead-in to the Russos' Avengers Endgame. For Captain Marvel, Marvel Studios modified their production logo to honor Stan Lee, who died on November 12, 2018, by replacing the characters in the logo with Lee's MCU cameos. The logo was followed by a black screen reading, "Thank you, Stan." Feige said this was done because the film was Marvel's first since Lee died, and they wanted to start the film by acknowledging him with a celebration of his legacy rather than add a somber memorial to the end of the film. Nice. So now finally, let's take a look at the music. Bernard Choprak signed on to compose the film's score in June 2018, marking her the first woman to score an MCU film. Choprak began by creating the title character's theme, for developing themes for the Kree and the Skrulls, which she tried to connect in order to find the universe for the film's scenes in space and Earth. Choprak wanted Captain Marvel's theme to be recognizable from his first two notes. In addition to Choprak's score, the film's soundtrack also includes Alan Silvestri's theme from The Avengers, Michael Giacchino's Marvel Studios fanfare, which displayed over the Marvel Studios logo and referenced during Stan Lee's cameo appearance, and songs from the 1990s. In April 2019, Mark Saucedo of the website Screen Geek alleged that Marvel and the film's directors have been unhappy with Choprak's work on the film, even after she had responded to ample notes, and replaced her as composer for the film with Giacchino. Giacchino responded to this report by confirming he was uninvolved with the film, revealing he had been asked to give feedback on Choprak's work while he was working on the Marvel score for Spider-Man Far From Home. He thought Choprak had written a beautiful theme and inspiring score for the film, and helped her work on a few cues, which she said was him supporting her as a fellow member of the Marvel family. Giacchino made it clear that he did not write the score to Captain Marvel. Bottom line is, Choprak is a fabulous composer and certainly doesn't need me. Well, good on you. Good on you. Alright. So overall, I really like this movie, and I know that this film is, I don't know if this film is kind of divisive among Marvel fans, but honestly, I really enjoy this movie a lot, so yeah. So overall, I give Captain Marvel 5 arc reactors out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we take a look at Avengers Endgame. So until then, in the words of the late great Stan Lee, Excelsior!